A big unknown in the efficiency of new construction is the benefit to home purchasers and tenants, but also the benefits to builders and developers of energy efficiency, who are in a position to spread these benefits throughout the residential and building sectors. These circumstances are very different for new construction and for rehabilitation of the existing stock. We're honored, therefore, to have the Vice President and Associate General Counsel of KB Home with us today to make today's keynote presentation. KB Home was founded a half-century ago and has been named the most admired home builder in America by Fortune magazine for 5 of the past 6 years. Our speaker today, Lawrence Gotlieb, advises senior management of KB Home on legal and policy issues, especially sustainability and sustained environmental practice. We're very pleased that you can join us today, Larry.
Well, thank you, John. And I want to say that it's appropriate that I get to speak to you at lunchtime because as a home builder, I'm rather used to being served up as lunch to bright groups like this, and throwing in the fact that my son, who is at LBL, is here and is a very constant critic of mine. I'm going to be very disappointed if I'm not told how wrong I am by the end of this presentation. I came to Berkeley, though, because the subject of today's conference is a subject or a group of subjects that Berkeley really is the best in the world in, whether it's the environmental energy or efficiency technologies division at LBL, or the program on housing and urban policy. These are the best programs in the world related to energy efficiency and conservation. I want to start with a few perspectives of a home builder, if you'll bear those in mind as we work our way through questions about energy efficiency in residential homes. First, I'm addressing what goes on inside the home. That is, what are we doing inside the sticks and bricks of a house to promote energy efficiency and conservation. I'm not focusing on the external, the location efficiencies, smart growth, community planning and development, although we are very involved in those things as well, and involved in the local area in places like San Jose, Fremont, Walnut Creek, Lafayette. We have transit-oriented developments or other energy efficiency promoting programs, but that's not the subject, not my subject today. It may be others who are speaking today or are part of the program tomorrow. Second, I want to note that new home builders do work to improve energy efficiency in the homes being built today. But please keep in mind that the following arithmetic. There are approximately 88 million single-family housing units in America today. In a good year, which we haven't seen for about 4 or 5 years, right, Kathy? We would be building about 1 million to 1.3 million single-family housing units. So just applying simple math and taking into account the fact that homes built after 1990 use about 40 to 50% on average less energy than pre-1990 homes. We're not going to make a meaningful dent in the carbon contribution that homes make to the planet unless we really attack retrofitting of existing homes in a big way. Want you to keep that in mind. Third is cost. Now, for good reason, this morning, a good bit of the discussion focused on the costs of energy efficiencies and conservation. And to put some arithmetic around that, the median priced home in the U.S. today is about $220,000, which sounds wrong when you're talking about California, but it's about $220,000. If you add $1,000 to that median priced home cost, you will cause about 200,000 U.S. households to cease to qualify for a 30-year fixed rate conventional Fannie Mae mortgage. That's a daunting number. So a challenge to public policymakers and challenge to companies like ours is to contain those costs. How do we deliver energy efficiency, energy conservation without causing those 200,000 households to get knocked out of the box of home ownership? It's an important consideration. And I say this acknowledging the fact that in the long run, energy efficiency does contribute to, I should say that energy efficiency and home affordability are not mutually exclusive. That in fact, every dollar saved in utility costs can go into housing or to help pay for the mortgage. All we need to do there is convince lenders and appraisers that there is value there and see if they would recognize that. Fourth perspective of a home builder, notwithstanding the constant characterization in the media about the war between developers and environmentalists and that we're just in a constant state of confrontation, I'm very proud of some of the relationships that we've been able to develop among leading environmental organizations. And here's one of them. We've been the beneficiary of a decade-and-a-half relationship with the Natural Resources Defense Council, who have provided us with, I would say, easily $1 million worth of McKinsey or Bain consulting type quality research at no cost to us. And the NRDC has guided us in building science, in scaling down the size of our homes, and in figuring out how to educate the public about the importance of energy conservation and efficiency and how to achieve it. This ad was run in the New York Times several years ago, conceived by, paid for, written by the NRDC, commenting on some public policy positions that our company had taken. And those of you who work with the NRDC know that they generally don't go around patting companies on the back and saying "good job." They're tough, but we've forged a terrific relationship, as we have with some other organizations around the country, and it's been good. It's been very good for us, and I believe good for organizations like the NRDC. Their chief operating officer, Peter Lanner, who some of you may know, serves on our National Advisory Board and helps guide us in not only environmental matters, but a number of others as well. So now let's take a look at some examples of energy-efficient homes. And let me go with, this is a Martha Stewart home. We have a relationship with Martha Stewart, which she provides a lot of both exterior and interior designs and touches that make the homes very, very distinctive. She's also an environmental advocate, and we work closely with her. This home was built in Orlando at the beginning of the year, and is a net zero energy home or extreme energy efficient home, however you want to call it, and designed with Martha's help in Orlando. We some of the features that make it energy efficient. You're not going to be able to read that. Let me point out some of the features. Let's see. Well, you can see Martha's touches in the elevations from the curb. That home doesn't look any different than any other, but it is a net zero energy home. One of the things we've done is taken photovoltaic cells and embedded them in the tile roof so that we don't have the boxy photovoltaic panels resting on the roof. Some of the other features, excuse me. This is part of our, I guess, our paper conservation effort here. Right. I've mentioned the photovoltaic. We have a solar thermal water heating system. We have a cool roof tile, which is becoming more and more popular. high efficiency windows, dual HVAC systems, meaning two systems for heating and air conditioning, so you don't have to, deal with the whole house. You don't have to run your whole system to power the entire home, and a number of water efficiencies as well. We're part of the EPA WaterSense program, and throughout this talk, I will make some reference to our water conservation efforts, not only because water is a precious resource itself, and not just in California, but throughout the country, but, and someone in this room is going to know the exact number, but the cost of pushing water around the state of California uses something in the neighborhood of somewhere between 10 and 20% of all the electricity consumed in this state. That's a startling number, and if someone knows the number, maybe in the Q&A, serve it up. But it reminds us constantly that water conservation is good energy conservation and critical that we do. The energy efficiency device that we put in the Martha Stewart home that caused the media to drop their jaw, and we had about 100 media go through this house when we opened it, was a real-time energy and water consumption device. They all stopped, and the media people did, and they all looked at what happens when you turn a plasma TV on, and certainly what happens when you turn the air conditioning unit on, and that you would get in real time not only the amount of consumption, but plugging in the kilowatt hour cost, you would know exactly what your charge at that moment is for the lights you turned on or the turning on of a plasma TV. We think that the real-time energy readers are going to become more and more common, and something that will serve as an educational tool for the public who are more and more becoming interested in how they can save their costs of operating the house, quite apart from whether they're doing anything good for the planet. Let's see, I guess you see on that slide there over in the margin some of the organizations that participated with us and helped us and honored us for building this concept home. Were the Building America program of the Department of Energy, EPA's Energy Star rated program, EPA's WaterSense program, and the LEED Platinum designation from the U.S. Green Building Council, all of which are organizations that we work closely with. Some of you are going to be interested in cost. Well, the Martha Stewart home would have cost about $300,000. It wound up costing $370,000, so there was about $70,000 differential to get us all the way to net zero energy. And really, a big chunk of that was in reaching the last 20% or so of the net zero calculation. We and other builders are getting good cooperation also from a number of important building suppliers, and I want to mention that some of what we've been able to achieve, which I'll touch on in the area of cost containment in energy and energy conservation, was achieved because of companies helping us. Whirlpool for several years has been providing us with the Energy Star rated appliances at no cost greater than their conventional appliances. Louisiana Pacific will sell us the roof sheathing that goes, goes on the roof or becomes the roof of the home, with a radiant barrier that at no greater cost than just buying plain old roof sheathing. The importance of that is that a radiant barrier can save 15% or more in cooling costs because it thwarts or keeps the heat out, and is a very important player in the energy efficiency arena. Sherwin-Williams and Shaw Carpet Company, low VOC paint, low VOC carpeting, sold to us at no cost, at a cost no greater than conventional paints and carpeting. Carrier selling us programmable thermostats at no cost greater than the manual thermostat, and on and on. We've been able to get good cooperation from a number of companies that have allowed us to sell our homes at, with no added cost for the energy efficiencies. We have a program at our company that we call Rolling Thunder, where we, every quarter we come out with a couple of new energy or water-saving devices at no greater cost to the buyer. We're kind of, this morning reference was made to low-hanging fruit, and I think we're kind of at the end of the line as far as these things that don't cost anything more. There are some things like tankless water heaters or photovoltaic that, you know, you don't get for free, and we're going to have to, but we're using our negotiating power to try to at least get the cost down as low as possible. Let's see, let me show you another one. This is a demonstration home in Lancaster, California, which is in North Los Angeles County. That's a net zero energy home as well. There too, we got the same problem with the fine print. Actually, the primary features I want to point out here are, first of all, we have a, you'll see in the lower right corner there, what looks like a file cabinet is actually a battery manufactured by the company, some of you know, BYD, Build Your Dreams, which is a Chinese company that Warren Buffett is heavily invested in, and they're producing a new era, a new generation of batteries. What that battery does is hold 10 kilowatt hours of electricity, so that during the day when the photovoltaic is producing electricity, it doesn't dissipate. It gets stored in that battery, and you have 2 days worth of power if there should be a power outage or, you know, something malfunctions. This is one of the first homes in the country, if not the first, to have this battery as part of a photovoltaic system. The other thing I want to point out to those of you who are chemists or physicists is we have something that the popular press calls smog-eating tile. And I will defer to others here during Q&A, but there's a titanium dioxide compound, which I'm told in the presence of sun and nitrogen oxide will cause the nitrogen oxide to break down into nitrogen and oxide. And of course, nitrogen oxide is one of the principal air pollutants, and breaking this down into nitrogen and oxygen gets rid of, one house with this titanium dioxide will, let's say, eat the smog produced by about driving a new conventional car about 12,000 miles. So there's some hope there that we, and this is fairly widely used in some of the European countries and in Japan. We tried to highlight the energy efficiency features of the Lancaster home, but the media just, you know, sort of like the monster that devoured Cleveland. The idea of smog-eating tile just fascinated everyone's science fiction sentiments. Let's see, let me show you another one here. Earlier this year, we announced that we would build 10 communities in Southern California with a photovoltaic system provided at almost no cost to the buyer. And that is, what you see there is a 1.4 kilowatt generating photovoltaic panel. A couple of notes about that. First of all, we would only be able to do this, the economics of it are tough, but we were able to do this, first of all, because we were buying photovoltaic for 10 communities, and so there was a lot of competition among photovoltaic manufacturers to bid on our job, so we got a great price on these photovoltaic cells. Second, the California Energy Commission was absolutely terrific in helping us here. They provided us with a rebate that I think worked out to be $2.65 a watt. So take the 1.4 kilowatt, 1,400 times $2.65, and you're talking about real dollars that came back to us, helped us bring the cost down, and it was only because of the Energy Commission's tremendous program in this. Third is the federal, of course, the federal tax credit that goes to the buyer for purchasing the home with the photovoltaic. Bring those three things together, and we came close to covering the cost of the photovoltaic. Also, I'll ask you to look carefully. If you can see, the photovoltaic panel there is actually recessed. It's sitting recessed in the tiles. And reason for that is that this was a test or a demonstration home, and not all city governments are as enlightened as Berkeley's. And we run into some cities where the design review board says absolutely no to our efforts to put photovoltaic in. They're operating back in the 1950s, I guess, and they're not in the 21st century anyway. So we experiment with ways to try to get around that edict, and one of them is to sink the cells into the roof. Now that creates a whole other set of problems for us, because we also live in a state that is hands down the most litigious in the country when it comes to construction defects. And building this roof with recessed panels just opens us up to a lot of possibilities for leakage or some kind of other structural problem. So, nevertheless, we're forging ahead and trying different kinds of solar photovoltaic that does not, that deals with people's aesthetic senses, that deals with the litigation risk, and that, in the end produces at least some electricity for the homeowner to use. I think we're going to have the same. I should have brought binoculars or at least 3D lenses for you all to look at. But I attempted to summarize in this some of the features that make up what we call energy efficiency or energy conservation promoting systems in the home. The radiant barrier that I already mentioned, and the 15% reduction in the cost of cooling. LED lighting, which is just sort of beginning to work. We're still in the CFL generation of lights, but before long we'll be in the LED generation. We offer LED lighting, tankless water heater, a higher SEER air conditioning unit, more efficient, more money, but far more efficient. Two-zone HVAC system that I mentioned earlier, running all the ductwork in the ambient airspace rather than up in the attic where it's exposed to the outdoor air temperatures. Things that these are some of the things that constitute energy efficiency, and that first list is of those are the standard features that we give to our buyers, and then here's a list of options, and that's where the buyer has to take out the checkbook and put their money where their mouths are. One feature I want to mention, because there happened to be a story in last week's Los Angeles Times about this, is there are families, particularly younger home buyers, who are somewhat interested in having the house be ready for electric charging. That is, they don't necessarily own that kind of car now, but they can see that coming in the future for themselves. The Times story pegged the cost of just making the house ready for electric charger at somewhere between $500 and $2,000. What we do at our company is offer the pre-wiring, if you're ordering it, when we're building the home for you, at $175. I mean, it's one of few bargains these days, and so we're getting a lot of interest in that. People just getting their home ready for the day when they'll use an electric charger, because it's $175 versus the $500 or $2,000 to do the wiring in an existing home. Okay. So what have we learned about the public's interest in home energy efficiency and the willingness to pay for it? Well, while in poll after poll and in focus group after focus group, members of the public, overwhelmingly, 85% or more, express an interest in protecting the planet. But the caveat they attach is, I want the government to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to pay for it. And that's borne out pretty much by our experience in our sales offices. When our salesperson is sitting across the table from a home buyer, and the home buyer has their checkbook out, we see a different sort of behavior. Often, if the buyer is going to buy anything or pay for anything beyond the standard home, it's going to be for something like, and most of you have heard this, either the granite countertops or the terrazzo flooring, and not a tankless water heater or photovoltaic. One example I will cite, since it's local, is right up the road here in Danville. This is several years ago now. We offered, at our cost, no markup at all, at our cost, a photovoltaic system that included reverse metering and an inverter and a tankless water heater. Offered at our cost, you would be able to build it into the mortgage, so the cost would be pretty marginal. Plus, you get the benefit of the mortgage interest deduction. Out of the 180 homes, and this is Danville. This is part of the greater Bay Area community that is certainly ground zero for environmental sensitivity in the United States. Out of the 180 buyers, 6 took us up on our offer. Not very encouraging. And we did all we could to try to educate our buyers about that. That takes me to our conclusion, which is, if we're able to prove to our buyer that they will recover their cost in 3 years, give or take a little bit, then we may have a taker. But if you get much beyond 3 years, it's pretty hard to come up with a home buyer who will go forget net zero energy, but just go for a system that will reduce their energy consumption. Not very heartening. Well, we turned to our friends from the NRDC for guidance, and they helped us put together what we call an energy performance guide. Looks a little bit like the MPG sticker that EPA requires of new cars. We think the information is actually more useful because it tells you in actual dollar terms what, on average, the house you're buying in that area is going to cost. In this case, this EPG sticker was done for a community in Las Vegas. And if you know the extremes of weather that occur in Las Vegas, to think that your electric and gas bills combined and averaged over 12 months is going to run $90 a month, that's pretty good. And so we're hoping that kind of information will allow our buyers to make informed decisions. And before I get carried away in being too harsh on our buyers, who after all are our customers, the home buying process is very taxing, very draining. You're juggling so many factors. The distance from work to this house that I'm about to buy, the quality of the schools, the crime rate. The financing, what's my mortgage rate going to be? Am I going to get a mortgage? I mean, there's all these things that are, kind of coming together in a short period of time. And people just aren't thinking about, hey, once I'm in this house, what's it going to cost me to operate it? Well, we're trying to give people, in as quick and easy a way as possible, their arms around what their operating costs, at least utility-wise, will be. And this sticker is something that has been... we came out with it earlier in the year with the help of the NRDC, and it's received great accolades. Okay, I'm going to wrap up. Am I? Yeah.
I'm sure there are questions.
All right. So I don't want to just throw gloom here. So I'm going to try to look on the bright side of things. Is there a future? Well, I think so. I think we're going to see energy efficiencies become far more widespread. First, because costs are coming way, way down. Even The cost of that Martha Stewart home that at the beginning of this year we built with a $70,000 premium, probably today it might be as low as $40,000. Costs are coming way down because of economy of scale and because there are more people trained in the installation of these devices. So I think cost is going to be a big deal. Second, energy efficiency as an index of, or as a means of cost saving is gaining traction. Home buyers are now considering the cost of operating the home and are willing to take into account the opportunity costs. Third, government hasn't really begun yet, and maybe we'll hear today or tomorrow about any possible government programs to help change the mass culture. I think of the anti-smoking campaigns or the drunk driving campaigns or the clean water campaigns with Indian Chief Iron Eyes Cody. Those things had tremendous mass effect in changing the cultural outlook. We haven't heard from the government in a big way yet on making it your patriotic duty to reduce your carbon output, and there's some hope there. Finally, the greatest hope, I think, lies in the discernible evidence we have in our own company that Gen Y will come to our rescue. That is, that people of home buying age who are in the Gen Y group, at least buyers of their first home, which is a lot of what we build, are asking about energy saving and energy conservation devices and are showing a willingness to pay at least something for it. And so my hope is that we'll get there on the backs of Gen Y. And finally, I would say, we focus on the technical aspects of energy efficiency, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be the psychologists and anthropologists, if any of you are majoring in those subjects, who are going to help us change the mass culture to embrace energy efficiency, energy conservation as a necessity. On that happy note, thank you.
Larry, you're your own moderator now, so
Okay.
Perhaps you wish to recognize someone in the audience who might have a question?
Or correct me if I was wrong on any of my data. Yes.
I'm just curious. Is K&B have the Napa home, the Petaluma Solar Home project on 101? Are you familiar with that?
I know, I know we're building something in Petaluma. I don't.
I've been watching it. The building pads were carved out at least a year ago, and maybe a few homes have been put up. And I didn't know if there's a resistance towards solar building there, or if it's just the general home building economy now.
I don't know. Probably the latter, but I don't know.
I just want to know what you're doing with solar hot water, because solar hot water actually is a lot easier win and payback period than with solar PV.
Yeah. We offer it in some of our markets. We build in 30 different markets, and they're so climatically different. But I know that we offer it in at least some of our, and I think one or two. Well, the Martha Stewart home and I think the Lancaster home have solar thermal, water heating.
Are you in Hawaii?
No, like to be.
It's almost mandated now in Hawaii.
Is that right?
Florida would be ideal.
Yeah, right, absolutely right.
One or two more?
Yes, you had mentioned the Martha Stewart house cost about 70 and it's going down to about 40. And you'd also mentioned when you were going over it that you're getting some great deals from the manufacturers. Have those prices now translated to normal consumers, or is that just a KB hookup?
Well, to be clear, the Martha Stewart house was about $300,000 without all the, 370 with them. What we do, when we negotiate great rates, I'm not in the meetings where these companies price their products, so I don't know. I know what we pay. I don't know. I just don't know what. Yeah, I just don't know. Yes. Lady up there. I don't mean to make you work out. Sorry.
Well, it's good for me, Larry.
Hi, my name is Avni, and it's really great to hear, a very enlightened developer. My question was, as much as your focus is on getting advanced energy efficiency measures into your buildings, is there also like a design element, kind of like an anti-sprawl strategy that you are thinking about, or just something that's more, just fundamental to how we build our communities and how they're laid out?
Absolutely,
And you left those items out of your talk at the beginning.
Segregated them for this talk, but absolutely, they're critical. Yeah.
Anything to say?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.